Story 1. Am I the a-hole for making a scene of my adult son and sticking my nose in his mirror? I'm 60 and bad with the whole text thing on mobiles, so I'm hoping I won't be judged on my grammar. Here's the important background. My daughter-in-law, 32, and son, 33, have 3 children aged 3 years, 2 years, and 4 months. He convinced her to be a stay-at-home mom and sell her business by telling her how good of a childhood he had and how happy my marriage was, without telling her, which I found out today, that our arrangement was everything before 9 a.m. and after 5 p.m. was split 50-50. Sunday was my day off, and I was brought out twice a week. On to the story. On my last visit, I noticed my daughter-in-law was struggling mentally, so my sister, 55 female, and her girlfriend, 53, pulled our money together and paid for a spa weekend for them while we'd babysit the kids for her birthday last weekend. I was preparing on Thursday evening for the kids to arrive when my daughter-in-law rang me holding back tears saying they won't be going because my son's friend came to town and he said he wanted to spend the weekend with his friends catching up. I pressed her a little and I'm talking a little about her situation. She came clean about him doing no chores, no date nights, and her basically doing all of the childcare because that's what stay-at-home moms do. I was honestly disgusted. I convinced her to drop me off the kids and bring a friend to the spa. I even dipped into my savings and gave her 500 euros to buy herself something nice. When she dropped me off the kids, I begged her to tell me where son was. After 5 minutes, she told me about the bar. She left for the spa while I left for the bar. She knew I was going there and knew my sister-in-law were taking care of the kids. Here's where I might be the a-hole. I went to the bar where he and his friends were. I sat down next to the group and asked my son, did I fail you as a mother? Or was it your father because we both thought your partner comes before your silly drunk friend? The post is getting long enough, but long story short, I humiliated him and got myself banned from a bar. My daughter-in-law says she will take the kids to her parents when she gets back tomorrow, and my son is calling me an a-hole for humiliating him / sticking my nose in his merit. Maybe I should have stayed out, I don't know. Edit, I just want to say I'm heartbroken, not by any judgment toward me or my parenting skills, but the fact a lot of people are shocked I care about my daughter-in-law's mental health and stood up for her against my son's bad behavior. I just want to say, as a mother, my advice is, treat your daughter/son/non-binary in-laws how you'd want your children to be treated. Respect goes a long way. Okay, first off, I absolutely adore this mom, this poster. You're not an a-hole at all, but I am sorry to hear that your son turned out to be quite the a-hole. The fact that he has this whole yep, you're the stay-at-home mom, so you have to do everything and I get to do whatever I want when I'm not working. No, not how that works. Not how it works in a good partnership. And yeah, I don't blame this mom for how this guy turned out either. Might have been the father or other things. Who knows? But this mom sounds like a lovely person. And the fact that she embarrassed her son in front of his friends and stuff, that's the least that should have happened. This guy deserves a little bit of hell rained down upon him. And he got a light sprinkling of heck. That's it. And if he's gonna be upset and butthurt about that, oh boy, it doesn't surprise me. Does not surprise me at all. Folks, if you're in a partnership and one of you decides to be a stay-at-home parent, that does not mean that everything in the house falls to you all the time. The kids are your responsibility. Every chore is your responsibility. Every meal. No, doesn't work that way. And if folks would like to disagree with me, but kindly to get in touch with me instead of leaving a comment, feel free to write your thoughts out on a piece of paper and then crumple that up and shove it right up your butt. Story 2. My entitled sister wants me to house my niece for free during uni. My niece had to move back in with her mother after the lockdown started. She lost her job and all her classes were online. Her lease was month to month, so she didn't have to worry about breaking her lease. Recently, the schools have reopened and she started attending classes again. Problem is, her apartment, which was walking distance from her university, is now rented. Parking in the area sucks, and it's an hour one way from her mother's house on public transit. I will say now that my niece is also incredibly spoiled and is taking classes for a degree with no practical benefits. By this I mean that it will in no way help her with a career path, nor are they necessary courses for further education. Got a call from my sister asking if my niece could live with me because I live alone in a 2-bedroom house and I'm a 15-minute bus trip away from her uni. I said no for several reasons. I work nights and need to sleep during the day. My niece is a very loud young woman and doesn't understand the concept of an indoor voice. Last time she stayed in the same home as me, I was sleep deprived because of her practically yelling on her phone, and it affected how I did my job, resulting in a write-up. My niece is also a very messy person. I helped with the move out and the memory makes me shudder. Some of the unwashed dishes in the sink were tossed because they were beyond cleaning. She tried to just sit on random crap and text her friends and scroll TikTok. I had to take her phone and lock it in the glove box for the U-Haul we rented to get her butt moving to help. My sister still calls me a bee for doing this. While I may have a 2-bedroom home, the second room is my office/work room. I've been in the process of making wire-wrapped necklaces to sell online for extra income, and I need the area as a workspace. It's also my library, for lack of a better word. I keep my collection of novels on bookshelves there and a comfy old recliner for reading in. My niece is allergic to cats, and I have 3. My sister seems to think I can keep them all either in my bedroom or locked up in the basement for the school year. F that right there. And this is the big one. My old sister is under the belief that my niece wouldn't have to help out with household expenses or be expected to cook for herself. She also thinks that my niece shouldn't have to get a job while in school to focus on her studies. Tried to pull the "we're family and should help each other out" card, but that didn't count for crock when my step-siblings nearly made me homeless after my stepdad died and gave me 30 days to find a new place for me and my dog. Dog-friendly buildings where I live are hard to find. The only way I would agree for my niece to live with me is that she would give me $250 a month to help cover utilities and part of the internet. Figure that's a steal considering a cheap place around her school is more than double, even triple that, plus utilities, and she could use the garage for her car for free. But I would also expect her to buy her own food and clean up after herself, like doing her own laundry, keeping her room clean, and putting her dishes at least in the sink, if not the dishwasher. Would not expect her to cut the grass or shovel snow. The thought of even asking her to do this already gives me a headache. Now I'm getting texts from my both sisters telling me that I'm a horrible person and should open my home to this. That is unreasonable to expect a 19-year-old to spend 2 hours on the bus every day and yada yada. Part of me feels guilty because I could move my office and workspace down into the basement. Can't be a living space due to lack of windows, but I can't afford the expense of a second person in my home without them chipping in for the bills. Nor will I lock my cats away in their home. Edit, thank you so much for the awards. I did not expect this to blow up like this. Edit 2, should have been more clear. I don't have plans on letting her live with me. The $250 thing I mentioned was more a what-if situation that I'm not entertaining. The post was more a rant than anything else, but I am appreciative of the advice and the validation of my choice, even though this wasn't meant to be "Am I the a-hole" post. Third and final edit. Had a long talk with my sisters about the situation, also spoke with my niece, but no idea her mom and other aunt were trying to arrange living with me. She has plans on moving in with her boyfriend of 2 years, and her mom blew her top. End of story. I don't need to worry about her moving in with me. She didn't want to. I have too many rules for her taste. Laugh my butt off. Well, hey, at least the niece, that wasn't in on this and knows what she's about. So, good on her for that at least, and I'm glad to hear that the situation has resolved itself. But folks, you gotta stop using, "oh, but we're family." Quit pulling that card. I'm sorry. It's not good enough. And, "oh, we're family." Well, you don't burden family or just expect them to be burdened with your kids and their problems necessarily. Hey, you can ask. Asking's fine, and you can be reasonable about costs and all that kind of stuff. But you don't just get to be you're going to be a mother basically for a year to a child you can't stand. No, why do people expect this kind of stuff? Absolutely, if this person really did want to help and was able to help in all those ways, that'd be nice, sure, but to just expect it and be upset when that is not, given? No, you don't be that entitled, okay? D's. Story 3. Airbnb host left me an unfair review and it costed them hundreds. I recently attended a friend's wedding a few hours away from home, and the girlfriend and I decided to get an Airbnb so she could bring her dog. We found a nice place that allowed pets, took off early from work, and arrived Friday late afternoon. About 30 minutes later, the owner shows up to see how we're doing while we have the dog on the porch. We make some small talk and he mentions that we didn't indicate we were bringing a dog. I felt bad as it was an honest mistake and I'd never lied to someone to get out of paying the pet fee. We tell him that and offer to pay the $25 fee on the spot. He refuses to take the money and says that he loves dogs and eventually heads out. We don't think too much else about it, but when we leave, we decide to give the place a much more thorough cleaning than was in the instruction. The dog didn't chew any furniture or leave any other damage or mess, at least that we didn't clean up. In our minds, the trip was a success and Airbnb was a great fit. I got the email from them to leave a review and I left a 5-star review and said the house and the owner were great. But then I saw his review of me and a private message where he blasted me for not telling him that I was bringing a dog, how dogs cost them so much more work, and how we shouldn't leave dogs alone in the house. This didn't sit well with me at all since I thought we had handled this person to person when he came by on the first day. I was and still am happy to pay for the pet fee, and there was no indication anywhere on the posting that we couldn't leave the dog alone for a few hours while we were at a wedding. Nor did he say that while we chatted and told him we were here for a wedding. For him to post that on my Airbnb profile felt like a cheap shot. I responded to him in the chat and said as much, and while Airbnb couldn't do anything about the review since it didn't violate any of their policies, my girlfriend did point out that hosts aren't supposed to show up to the property unannounced. I had no idea and figured this was his property and he's allowed to show up, at least to check in with his guests. Normally I wouldn't care, especially since it was a very cordial interaction, but since he took a cheap shot with my review, I decided to do the same. I reached out to Airbnb support to tell them about his unannounced visit, and they forwarded it to their security team. I answered a few questions about the interaction, and they spoke to him. A week or so later, they let me know that he was in violation of their policy, and they refunded me 2/3 day of the stay, which came out to about $200. All because of a bad review. I mean, it sucks if that person lost $200, but yeah, why leave such a negative, crappy review? Like, I guess maybe they didn't, feel comfortable there face-to-face, confronting you, but you literally offered to pay the fee right then and there. They could have been like, oh, thanks, that works out just great, no problem. You gave them the perfect opening. They didn't have to feel like they couldn't do anything and they were backed into a corner. You approached the subject the way that you should have, and then they got all crabby about it and kind of, crapped on your rating a bit. And while I will say, I think there are hotels out there that allow pets that should be okay, and also, I don't know, this sounds like one of the better Airbnbs, and there were still problems, and most Airbnbs have gotten to be so bad, just give up on them, folks. I don't know. If you have to, you have to, I get it, but I don't have to worry about a rating when I stay at a hotel. They don't know anything about me. They just know that I gave them money and they go, okay, stay. Rating, it's a real Black Mirror crap, Story 4. I'm sorry, who are you? Context. I've, 20 female, been bullied all my life and have been in recovery for a multitude of things for the past year or so. I go to university in the same city I grew up in, so there's a high chance of me coming across people who went to previous schools or who hurt/bullied. I was well known for being bad-tempered and easy to wind up when I was younger. What happened? I was in the pharmacy waiting to pick up my prescription when someone shouted something at me. I pretended not to hear them and they shouted again. They ended up getting frustrated and tugging on my arm. I twisted around and immediately recognized who it was. A guy, 20 male, who had bullied me for over 10 years. So rather than get angry, I thought I would mess with him and see what happened. Kim, I heard you were in local uni. Me, I'm sorry, but I don't know who you are. Do I know you from somewhere? Immediately, he deflated. It was glorious to see. I had to stop myself from smiling. Kim, it's me, his name, from school. Come on, you know me. Me with a confused face acting 100. I'm really sorry, but I don't know you. Did we go swimming together, perhaps? Him. No, I don't think so. I'm really sorry, but I just don't know who you are. I think you should go to the back of the line, sir. I went on my phone and just blocked him out. He looked lost and eventually went to the back of the line. I got my prescription, ignored him, and went to my car and drove off. I literally screamed for joy and also because I was about to break down. It was a wonderful feeling to see him like that and to feel like he had nothing against me, and make him feel like he hadn't had a large effect on my life. I think in some situations that is probably the best way to deal with some of these people. A lot of bullies just get off on the fact that they're getting a reaction. For see them, whatever years later and stuff, and just be like, oh, you were nothing. I don't even remember you. Like, what a beautiful blow to the ego, more so than a physical blow to the face. Like, I think that is a good way to go about things, and maybe even a good lesson for this person to learn. Like, wow, I was just an a-hole, and I'm just being forgotten. The thing. Like, who wants to be a nothing? Something that people erase from their minds. Like, that almost gives me a little bit of an existential crisis, though I say this as someone who puts his face on the internet every single day, desperate for your attention. Please, please recognize me. No, but kind of. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.